Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are in. It's a pleasure to have you, join us today on what would be a very interesting discussion that I am looking forward to be having with some very eminent panelists in the room today. The discussion that we have today is something that has been, an area that many bankers, I would say, board members have a lot of discussion that's been happening in various boardrooms on what is this animal called AI and how should banks actually be embracing this race? Should we actually be at the forefront? Should we actually be driving the innovation so we are known to be the first movers? Uh, and is that the right thing to do? Or should we actually be waiting and watching, but embracing it quickly so we are what we call as fast followers? Uh, what's the right thing to do? And there are, as you know, there are various options and various pros and cons. And here we have in this call today, three very eminent panelists. Let me begin by doing a quick round of introduction. On the call today, we have Numan Rashid. Numan is the Chief Information Officer of Dubai Islamic Bank. As many of you know, DIB is one of the most recognized Islamic banks in the world. In fact, the first Islamic bank, and has actually been at the forefront of driving many, technology initiatives, which obviously Noman has been spearheading. Welcome again, Noman, and thank you for being with the panelists with us today.
Thank you, Ram. Looking forward to this interesting conversation.
Thank you. My second panelist, in fact, I was just mentioning earlier before we started this discussion with Noman that if there is another very vocal point of view that I look forward to hearing, it always is that of Ferenc. Ferenc is the head of IT at National Bank of Oman. He comes with a lot of experience, not only in the Middle East region, but in his earlier avatar when he actually has been working with banks in the European region. So he actually comes with perspectives that cut across different markets and different regions. And Ferenc is always known for being a strong point of view holder on various things. And I'm very keen and curious, just as many of you in the room are, to know about what Ferenc has to say. Thank you again, Ferenc, for being with us today in this call.
Thank you. I'm looking forward for this very interesting discussion.
Thank you. I would also love to introduce my third panelist today, Anshul Khare. He is actually the Director for Products and Business Solutions at Nucleus Software. This event is actually being hosted by IBS Intelligence along with Nucleus Software. And Anshul, he's worn various hats in his life. He was a banker, and now he is actually a technologist. So the right kind of convergence that one would expect to have some views. So thank you again, Anshul, for being with us in this panel discussion today.
Thank you, Ram, and looking forward for this interesting panel discussions.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is, Anshul, I would actually be, I know that there is a context that you would like to set with what you actually have, like to present as a 5-10 minute presentation. So I'm going to just jump into that document first. And before we start the panel discussion. Now, for people who are in the audience, I remind three things. One, there's going to be a very active engagement with the audience. Not only are we going to be having some very important questions for you and seek your feedback as polls, but may I say that this whole format of this discussion is going to be very actively engaging. So you will find there is a Q&A box in your screen. You're more than welcome to post your questions there. As we move along, we will do our best to make sure that we get them answered, because I'm sure, just as I am, many of you are keen to actually know more and more about what's the right thing to do. So with that context, Anshul, I'm going to just project my screen with the document that you would like to present. Yeah, you are able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So good morning, afternoon, everyone, evening to all the participants joining from different corners of the world. I'm Anshul Khare, and I'm excited to be your speaker for today's webinar on the topic first movers versus the first followers. The winning strategies, can you go back? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Winning strategies in the banking AI race and why it is fine to be either. And before we begin, let's think about who had the advantage. Is it a Bitcoin as the first mover in the crypto space, or Ethereum, if anybody knows about the Ethereum? I think the Bitcoin market share of 62% speaks about its dominance in the crypto space. In essence, the PayPal success story demonstrates that while being a first mover can offer initial advantage, but being a fast follower, especially in the rapidly evolving market, can be a highly effective strategy for achieving sustainable growth and high market dominance. And I would like to set the context that the timing in the finance is not just about being early. It is about being right in the face of regulations, trust, and the infrastructure. With this, Ram, can you move forward to the next one?
Sure.
Let's see the competitive imperative of the first movers. And especially the first movers in the GCC are investing early in the AI-driven innovation. And they are in the form of leading the charge, where a top bank in Qatar has implemented AI for its AML solutions and resulted in 98% reduction in false positive alerts. It's a massive, massive achievement. It can be seen as a trailblazers for the innovation, where a leading bank in UAE has implemented AI-powered chatbot. And you won't believe they are addressing 30 million customer queries in a year with 95% accuracy. It can also be seen as a pioneers in their respective field, where a top bank in Oman is using Gen AI, not only to test their retail segment customers, however, to scale up to SME and corporate segments. And the last, the first movers can be seen as early adopters, where a leading bank in KSA has implemented AI-driven robo-investment advisory, resulted in the market trend and improved portfolio performance and the lasting impact on the customer retention. If I move to the next one, I think the fast followers are also leveraging on the proven strategies being set by the first followers, first movers, to reduce risk and deliver greater ROI. And their strategies are very simple. They are positioning themselves as a strategic followers. Take an example of a Qatar bank. They have launched the AI chatbot after seeing the great performance in the UAE banking industry. Their strategy can be seen as adaptive implementers, where a leading NBFI in Kuwait has used the predictive model to reduce their NPA by 17%. One of the interesting facts, their strategy can be seen as a calculated imitators. A top bank in the UAE has launched a full service digital banks, which has achieved a 300% growth in the new customers onboarding. And the last but not the least, the fast followers can be seen as a value optimizers. A leading bank in KSA has deployed the AI-driven mobile app solution to tap their 9.7 million customers. And the result is experiencing 145% year-on-year growth in their digital onboarding. Now, the main question lies in, Ram, can you move to the next one, please? Yeah. How do the bank decide what should be their strategy going forward? Based on the risk and innovation metrics, any specific use case for a bank can push them either into a disciplined innovators or strategic innovators, cautious experimenters, and the operational optimizers. Just to share a global fact which was done, approximately 50 to 80% of AI use cases which have been implemented so far or getting implemented are belong to the low risk area of a bank. But it can be highly innovative, like a call center optimization, or it can be a conventional risk assessment models or their mitigation plans. If I move forward, the first movers, they always take a calculated choice. They always become a market leader, but their investment upfront on research and development is very high. They always get a regulatory influence, but vulnerability over the security and compliance is always a concern area. They always get a differentiator on their competitor, but the risk of misaligned solution to a new upcoming market is always a risk. They always set the industry standard, but they incur heavy cost in terms of educating the customer about their new product, as well as to the regulators to convince them to launch the product. In nuts and shell, being first means writing a playbook with also correcting the typos. If I'll move forward, the fast followers also have a strategic trade-off. They get the advantage of cost saving since they don't have to invest on R&D. But there is the investment required to set their brand, advertisements, customer retention, and the market advertisement cost. Fast followers get very easy penetration to the market because the market is known, it's a saturated, it's stable. But there's an intense competition, they find it when they land into the market. The fast followers are very quick in launching the product. Their speed is very high. But if you see, they need to invest more cost, time, bringing the innovation into their product to bring out the differentiators over the competitors. And if I say in nut and shell, the fast followers win the race, but don't always get the glory. With this statement, I would like to start with the FinOne Neo. It's an AI-enabled lending platform which has helped customers, more than 200 customers across 50 geographical countries to meet their customer experience by providing lending transformation. The FinOne Neo has got 550 plus API, and the latest tech stack is also available with the FinOne Neo. If I move forward, it has got multiple AI use cases which has helped the banks and the financial institution to meet their strategic objective. Just to name few, the voice bot, which does the sentiment analysis of a call being made between the customer and the bank agent, is one of its type. The AI analytics, using AI analytics, doing the delinquency predictions, help bank to reduce their NPA. The automate document processing while capturing the data with zero errors help bank to get the best operational efficiency. And the last but not the least, ensuring documents are tagged using AI to the right classification helps bank to reduce their rework ratio. With this, I would like to conclude with the statement what I made. The timing in the finance is not just about being early. It is about being right and moving fast, as speed is one of our main advantages over the large competitor. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshul.
Hope I was bang on time.
You did very well on time. I think you just mentioned that, speed is important, but being at the right time is also important. But I think you've set the context for our audience to actually answer a very simple question. Are you looking to write the playbook, but also correct the typos along the way? Or are you looking to win the race, but willing to let go of your glory? I think that's a very interesting way to look at the picture. So I am actually going to now that Anshul has done his introductory discussion, I'm going to go into a poll with our audience, and I'm going to launch the poll questions there. You can see the poll has been launched. So the question is this: where do you foresee AI delivering the greatest impact in your bank or in any bank in the next 2 years? Is it personalized customer experience? Is it operational efficiency and cost reduction? Is it risk management and fraud prevention? Or is it actually about launching what Anshul just talked about, launching new AI-driven products and services? Where do you see the impact, the greatest impact? Unfortunately, all of the above is not an option. So the point is that you have to make a choice amongst the four. Although the honest reality is that anyone would say, I would like to have more than one option there. So I think we just took a minute, 3 more seconds to go, and I will actually end the poll. And I am ending the poll. And what's the answer? I'm going to share the results with everyone. I guess you can see my screen. Interestingly, personalized experience and operating efficiency seem to be both neck to neck, both at 31%. Risk management is at 21%. And launching new AI-driven products, although there are some fans, but not seems to be the highest. I think that category, a lot of people seem to belong to, what did you say? Operational experimenters, who actually are the 50% lot that you talked about. Yeah. So with that, I am back to the panel discussion. And I'm actually going to be posing the first question to you, Noman. I mean, this is actually about, when we say you want to build a case for AI, right? And the question obviously is why now and how fast? And therefore the pertinent, or rather the motherhood question, if I may, is how critical is AI adoption? I mean, let's start with that, right? I mean, if a bank wants to be long-term competitive, especially in the region, how critical is the adoption of AI? Is it really critical as much as what everyone talks about? Or do you think banks can afford to wait? So your point of view, Noman.
Thank you, Ram. But before I answer, I have to say this: the energy and passion which Anshul brought through his presentation. I mean, I'll try my best, but I don't think I can compete with him. On a lighter note, on the context and this main topic of first movers or followers, this reminds me of 2 decades old, 3 decades old, when it was CRM and ERP's race, who's going to do. And 10, 15 years back, it was a cloud race. Who's going to go? Who's going to adopt first? Who's going to come later? Then CIOs, I remember, were threatened that innovate or die, the same Kodak situation, same Nokia situation type of a game. And guess what? Today also we are in the same situation. It's me as heading technology of DIB, or our friends there on NBO, and many other head of IT. Same situation we are in right now, again, the side cycle of AI. Now, coming back to your point, Ram, I think it's a slightly deep question, so bear with me for next few minutes, because my answer will be very philosophical, and then we can figure out ourselves where we are heading with this conversation. So AI adoption and how important it's for the organizations, the way I'm sensing the banking industry is looking at, based on my conversation with my peer group, especially in this country, is in following manner. So if you just look at competition, and if banks have to stay afloat in this competition, then always, as us as bankers, the way we approach this competition is in following manner. First, let's understand what that approach is. So we look at customer life cycle, and this customer life cycle has 5 very distinct stages. And I may use maybe my own son as a simple analogy, and that will explain the context of these 5 stages of customer life cycle. So when he graduates, then he's going to be looking for a car. He'll be looking for a car, and for that he'll be looking for an auto loan from a bank, some bank. So when he's looking for, at that looking stage, how easy for him to find out which all options are available, which banks are offering that loan, where is DIB in this whole looking cycle. And then from looking, when we move into the choosing, that, okay, my son said, you know what, 3 banks are offering auto finance. I have to choose one of them, from looking to choosing. Second stage, how great experience he's getting in that choosing space. And from choosing comes to he's selecting, let's say, one of the bank, and he's saying, I love this bank, I need to go to this bank. How great that onboarding experience is getting offered in that third stage of his life cycle, from looking to choosing to coming and onboarding, then using that service of the bank is the fourth stage. And if he loves the bank, becomes the last stage, which is called staying with the bank. 5 stages. And human psyche says that in all these 5 stages, the emotions, the feelings that my son is going through is driving the whole experience, from looking to staying and growing the relationship. Competition comes in us, competition come in all 5 stages. How do we create a wow experience when he's at looking? How is the wow experience when we are onboarding him? How is the wow experience when we are serving him and doing cross-sell to him? Now, traditional way of creating wow is the same, use cookies, use APIs, educate and train our own staff to give the better experience when SaaS is getting in touch with us, versus AI powered experience at looking, at staying, at giving the fantastic service. So coming to now your point, when it comes to competition, we as CIOs, when we are having our discussions, we are now, earlier we used to discuss how we improve experience using the traditional methods. Now we are talking about how do we improve the customer experience by introducing AI capabilities at different stages of that person's life cycle, that SaaS life cycle. So in short, in my humble view, AI and AI-led experience, I think Anshul in his talk, he spoke about 2 aspects. One is the operational efficiency, the other one is the experience. In both areas, we believe that AI is going to be a game changer, and a true transformational aspects will happen through this one technology. Now, we all know, and I mean, even the listeners who are there on this call, they all know that AI concept always existed, right? In our academic days, we used to learn AI, we used to write our own nice small algorithms. We were told by somebody in our theory books that 1952, somebody wrote AI first algorithm. Now we are talking AI today. So now I think the game is going to be about survival of our organizations as banking industry. And we will be looking at it from different angles. Number one, customer segments. Which segments are we going after? I think the other day in another discussion, I was even talking about within customer segments, how important now this whole generational gap is becoming so important between the any generation older than Generation Z. I will not now classify millennials or boomers or those, but anything before Generation Z, how we are going to approach them using AI versus Generation Z and forward, whether alpha or any future generation. So that's one way of approaching customer segmentation. And the second aspect is, which I think Anshul also spoke about, is from a fraud, risk, and cybersecurity aspect of our organizations as banking industry, how sensitive we are towards these 2 topics, the fraud, risk, and cybersecurity. Here, how we can introduce more smarter capabilities using AI to create the competitive advantage from. So I'll pause here. I mean, as I said, I warned you, it's a philosophical perhaps answer, but let's see if it makes
Lovely,
sense.
lovely. No, I guess I think there were very interesting insights there, Numan. I mean, firstly, you're saying that you have to actually use AI is a given. I don't think that is a choice, and it's been existing for a long time, as you said. And but the question is, how do we use it? And as you also nicely articulated, as you go through those 5 stages in a life cycle of an experience, expectations are different, and how do you actually leverage, the power of AI at various stages, and how do you actually drive it, right? Uh, I'm going to take this, and you actually very interestingly talked about technology and cyber towards the end, and I'm going to take that insight into Ferenc, and I'm going to ask another question to your friends. See, the issue is that things are evolving. Although, as Numan said, AI may have existed in 1950s, and we have come a long way, and today we are actually. But the rate of change that we are experiencing and the acceleration that we're seeing is obviously at a breakneck speed. So how do you balance the urge as a bank to actually be adopting it early? And if you're saying, okay, I'll take a mass adoption, then I run the risk of obsolescence of technology. So I got to keep with the times, but at the same time, I also can't get obsolete. So how do you kind of balance the urge versus the ability to not lose to the obsolescence risk? Ferenc.
Thank you, Ram. I would start with a sentence which I learned from one very reputable deputy CEO in one of the biggest banks which I used to work. A couple of years back, when we started to talk about the artificial intelligence, he was raising his finger, sorry, and asking us that we are talking about the artificial intelligence and utilizing the artificial intelligence. Are we pretty much sure that we used all of our capabilities with the natural intelligence? And that's my point here, that artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all the technology, I think it's a tool for us. It's not the purpose. It's not the reason itself. These technologies and these solutions are meant to solve problems. And when we are talking about the urge moving towards artificial intelligence, then my second point comes here, that are we sure that we know what is the need, why we are doing something, and what is the problem we try to solve, and what is the best technology to solve that? Because AI is probably one of the best technology to solve multiple problems, but it requires a lot of prerequisites. And I think in Ansu's presentation, when he was discussing about the speed of adoption, etc., and based on the result of the polls which you were presenting, I think a lot of listeners now here are from banks, and there is one major difference here compared us and other institutions, that the banks are always measuring themselves on the P&L level. Meanwhile, other companies are working. Maybe they're working by venture capital money, which is a different game, I think. When we are in the bank, we need to have solutions which our CFO, our chief controlling officer, they were highly challenged. That do we have any other option to solve the same problem? Maybe not 100% or 110% preciseness, but from a fraction of cost. And here comes my third point, that when we are talking about what is the urge for the need for progressing, and who should be the first adopters and the fast followers or the late adopters, I think it's very important that, and that's my approach, don't compare myself to others. I need to solve my problems. What the others are doing on the market obviously can help me to understand what the technologies and what the confirmation, what is the adoption of these technologies, and what are the real life results with that. But there might be some areas when I try to be first adopter, and there are other areas where we can stay behind based on the need of my organization, based on the investment appetite of my board, and most probably based on the need of my clients. And that's very important. I don't believe that there is an ultimate answer for this. The urge of need, and I would bring one aspect which is a bit different for that. And when we are talking about the technology, usually we forget to talk about the human aspects of that. And I've learned it in one of my previous organizations that we cannot stick. As we are working in a bank, and the banks are usually based on very obsolete technology. The core banking systems are usually even running on RPG, on mainframes, and all of these things. Meanwhile, the new talents who are available on the market, they are keen to use new technologies. So in that sense, maybe a part of the need of the business, maybe a part of the need of profit making, we need to progress with the new technologies in order to stay attractive for the new talents, the best talents who might join the bank. Maybe they are not participating in our core activities, but can bring those knowledge and those methodologies what we can adopt in the later technologies. So in a nutshell, that's my view on that. I hope I answered your question.
It's a very poignant point you made here, Ferenc. I mean, basically what he's saying is, don't do AI for the sake of AI. Define your need. Determine what problem you're seeking to solve. And then if AI is a solution, so be it. But it's not AI for the sake of AI. So AI is meant to be the means, not the end in itself. I mean, so that's a very interesting point. And I'm actually going to take that question back to Anshul. And, this is a perspective end of the day, Anshul. And you have been, obviously you have been a banker, but more importantly today, you are engaging with different banks across different markets and you're playing different roles. From a technologist standpoint, right? And if I was to ask you to wear that hat, how do you see banks navigating? And I know I do remember that statement of Sam Altman that you made, but what's the on the ground experience that you are seeing with banks, and how do you see them actually maneuvering through this alternative choices?
So let me take two clues from Noman and Farron. I think both have said that it is not about the AI just to take AI. It is all about, I think Noman started with the 5 stages of the entire experience journey. And then Farron started with what problem you want to solve as part of the solution which you are looking for. So from a tech provider point of view, if you ask me, majority of the banks today are adopting a hybrid approach. And when we talk about adopt a hybrid approach, means there are certain use cases where the technology is what they are going to use it. They are going to position them as a pioneer. There are some use cases where the technologies they are going to use is going to adopt them as a fast followers. And this allows them to balance innovation with the risk management. I think that's the main key. So it's a hybrid approach. Now, whenever any bank or a financial institute take that decision, there are underlying influencing factors. And those factors are not only specific to the use cases. It talks about the bank in a size. So let's take Noman's case. It's one of the Islamic largest bank in UAE. Now, the bank size also takes an important role when you take a decision. The resources and the underlying capabilities of those resources is also a very key important factor to take whether you would like to be a pioneer or you would like to be a fast follower for a particular use case. The risk appetite and the tolerance of a bank and the leadership is also play a very important role in this context. The positioning of yours or your financial institute in the market, the way you are going to position yourself in the market is also a very important aspect to this decision-making process. And the last is the maturity and the stability of the new technology, what you are looking to solve the problem of specific use cases. So in nutshell, these are the factors which play a very important role for a bank or a financial institute to take that decision. Now, let me take one example of digital transformation. Today, entire financial industry is looking for a digital transformation buzzword. Now, what is this digital transformation? it's driving a shift towards more adaptive and agile approach. So the digital transformation, everybody is looking for an agile approach and the way the sports are going to work. Now, while these agile approaches are there, the banks are using some technology which is streamlining the processes, enhancing customer experience, and reducing cost. And they don't care about, regardless of whether this technology is setting them as a leading the charge or putting them as a following others. So their main concern about, I think, as Farron said, their focus is on using the agile approaches to streamline the processes, enhance customer experience, and reduce cost. And the tech providers like Nucleus Software, how they play a very important role. They facilitate this hybrid approach by offering high-tech flexible solutions and the partnership that allows bank to experiment, because as I said, the resources and capabilities also is one of the key consideration. So it allows the partnership that allows bank to experiment with this new technology, while bank focus is still on the strategy and the problem resolution. I think that's a position, being a tech provider like Nucleus Software, we have been seeing on a day-to-day basis across the GCC banks.
Thank you, Anshul. I think there is a lot of convergence between what Numan, Ferenc, and you have shared in this first round, right? I mean, if I was to just summarize, for me, I think clearly what is right for somebody else need not be right for me. I think that's the point that you are stating. Secondly, you are saying that, look, define what are you solving. So have a clarity on the use case. So have a clarity on the what. Have a clarity on the why, which is actually, why am I doing it? I mean, is this the best approach to do? And is there something else that I can do? There is a clarity on the how, which means that what are the approach I'm going to take in digital transformation, as you said, and the clarity on the who, right? What resources do I have them and can I afford to do it? I think a lot of these are, bedrock of attempting anything for that matter, not just AI, but you're just emphasizing this. And as if I can borrow what Ferenc said, I mean, what is today artificial intelligence? You need to use your natural intelligence first before you get into artificial intelligence. So before I go into round two of questions to the panelists, I'm going to jump back into another poll. This time I'm going to go back to in the audience. I am launching this. So let's understand what the audience have to say. Which AI adoption strategy will best suit your current mindset? Remember, there's no one right answer. There's always a different view. Be a fast mover, innovate early, take calculated risk. Be a fast follower, learn from early adapters and move smartly. The third is the fence sitters. It depends. It could be different for different use cases. And the last one is clearly wait and watch. What Anshul clearly called out as the operational experimenters, so who actually are willing to wait, watch, and adopt after widespread success, right? So we will give another 10 seconds for the audience to poll. Now, while I have the audience polling, I need to pose a question that I saw in the Q&A box. By the way, I would encourage people to quote their names and you put in your Q&A. It's easier for us to refer. So I have a question from Sumit Gilitwala, who actually is making a very interesting point. And you guys are talking about first movers, you're talking about fast followers, but you aren't saying, the fact that there is a fail fast as an option for the first mover. And how relevant is that to this context? And that's a question we'll quickly answer, Sumit. Before I do that, I'm going to end this poll. And I'm just going to publish what the results of the poll is. And lo behold, you seem to have a majority looking to be a fast follower. All right. They would love to be a fast follower. And you know what? The second best is not fast movers. The second best is it depends. Then you have the first movers. Now that tells you a lot, Noman, about the audience and what their preferences are. Well, it's very fascinating to see this result. So I'm going to just close the poll. And I'm going to pose this question, therefore, how relevant is the concept of fail fast for the first mover? Numan, can I ask you to answer that question, please?
I'll make an attempt. See, I completely lost the name of the gentleman who asked this
Sumit.
question.
Sumit.
Yeah. One fundamental rule of around innovation is when you are on a journey of innovation, you should have the risk appetite to fail as well, and fail not to be disappointed. Failure is also a path to learn, optimize, and take a recourse, and then make another attempt. So failure is another opportunity to learn and then make another attempt. This is how we should see it. And organizations must create that tolerance and that risk appetite to allow failures to happen. Innovation is all about that. And especially in the banking industry, similar to medicine industry, where innovation and the change is at a different pace, we must allow failures to happen, and we should have the appetite to fail as well. Ram, that's my.
So that's part of the definition of risk appetite is essentially your point. I mean, if you're having the risk appetite, then you should be willing to embrace failure when it happens. Yeah, fair point, Umar. Now I'm actually going to go back to Ferenc now, and this is actually going back to this same statement that Numan made. You need to actually have a clarity on where you're willing to fail, and there by corollary, you should know which ones are safe, right? So if I can pose that question to you, Ferenc, as a technology leader, if you have to tell me, hey, these are the use cases that are safe to adopt early, and there are some that you need to defer. How do you make that assessment? This is the safe one, and that's the one that got to defer. What's the basis?
Look, basically, I believe that when we are talking about the adoption of the AI cases, there are multiple factors which we need to assess. First one, good AI adoption cannot happen without a proper data set availability. And on the data set availability, always comes the first question, data access, data privacy, data security. So basically, all the use cases which with AI, which doesn't harms, especially client and transactional data, those are the ones which can easily and earlier adopt. Mostly, even in a highly regulated environment, cloud solutions can be used for that, so the investment requirements are lower. That's something which can easily use for chatbots to reduce the workload from the IVR team, from the call center team, providing personalized feedback to the clients regarding our terms and conditions and products, etc. Those are the easiest ones. And once we are moving towards for those which is, for example, the personalized banking, where I think most of us are using ChatGPT on a daily basis, and we get keen on that. We have some human-like responses to our questions compared to the previous Google kind of prompting. Now we are using the human prompting for the ChatGPT. That's the same. If I'm interested about my current account balance, how the balance was moved compared to last month, etc., I'm expecting that someone gives me not just the figures, but also provides me some summary about that, which naturally requires the access to my personal data. And then, in my view, then comes the more risky and more complex solutions, either by the fraud detection or for those decision making when we are expecting that AI will help us in the decision-making process. Both fraud detection and decision-making, in my view, AI can complement the human. AI will never be able to replace the human. My approach is, and that's what I like to follow, and that's usually which in the organizations I used to work with followed, that AI is highly reduced the workload on the humans, preparing the summaries for the decisions. But the final decision, even AI can propose a decision, needs to be confirmed by the human. With this sequence, I think most of the banks, I hope most of the banks already started to explore with the easier and the least risky approaches. There is only one prerequisite which we have to mention is again, as I mentioned, data availability and the environment availability. We need to have certain tool sets for leveraging with AI. Mostly they are coming if we don't have the high appetite for investing in on-prem solution, which is very safe from the data privacy point of view, but quite risky to implement. And worth to mention that the availability of the resources and the talents are quite scarce on this, especially in some
Got it.
regions. We have to move towards the cloud solution, which also enforces and supports the cloud adoption in the organization, and that enforces that the compliance and the regulatory authorities are also need to consider that as the worlds are changing, if the economy and if the banks doesn't want to lag behind, for example, the fintechs, which are less regulated than the big players, we need to start the adoption.
Very interesting, Ferenc. So I think, basically bottom line is, you clearly have to make an informed choice. It's a choice of determining which use case is a function of availability of data sets and availability of resources, and a genuine problem statement that you're seeking to solve and not for the sake of it. And that's a very interesting comment, Ferenc. I actually have another question for Noman, but I also see there is a question from my friend Suleiman in Abu Dhabi, and that kind of goes along with the question that I was going to ask you, Noman. So I'll first read out what Suleiman's question is. He says, "How can the first mover bank distinguish between genuine AI-driven innovation from what we actually call as traditional rule-based automation?" And we really ensure that the real value creation through AI is not overshadowed by all the current AI hypes, right? I mean, that's a brilliant question, actually, Suleiman. Thank you for asking that. And I just want to have that combined with another question, which is an annexure to the same question, Oman, is, and how does, as the bank actually looking to stay resilient, right, and continuously evolve its AI, what capabilities do I need to, kind of invest in and build that makes sure that I am able to kind of play this game in the long term? Yeah. So, Noman?
Sure. Just before that, I just wanted to build upon what a friend was saying about use cases. Just want to leave one more thought process for the audience as well. So if you all recall, when cloud came on the horizon, then we as CIOs also introduced a process called cloud adoption qualification process, which is which platform, which service should go in cloud, what are the criteria to be used before we say this is for cloud and this is not for cloud, and within cloud, this is for public cloud and this is for private cloud. So proper qualification process was introduced, got matured over the years. Similarly, for AI as well, when we talk about use cases also is a talk of the town. Every partner, every CIO is talking about use cases. What are the use cases? But what I'm sensing and seeing in the banking industry as well, that even this use cases qualification process is getting matured. And there are multiple parameters which are getting introduced in that qualification process. And I think my colleague touched upon that. So even use case itself, classification, whether this is a use case for conversational UI or a decision intelligence or automation, what is the type of use case this is? Secondly, as a parameter, we also talk about now risk identification around this use case, whether there is any ethical risk associated, is there any cyber risk associated, what sort of algorithms which get deployed to deliver that use case. So you give it a pretty matured approach towards qualifying a use case before you say, thumbs up, let's take it forward. And I foresee this whole process will become like cloud. It will mature and you will see a lot of methodologies getting deployed around use case qualification as well. Now, coming to Salman's point and again, your point, I'll first address his point, then I'll come to yours. I think this whole AI thing, I think he mentioned simple rule-based versus distinct AI. It's funny because this is a conversation which happens in boardrooms also. And obviously in boardrooms, you see knowledge which is based on Google, ChatGPT, and knowledge which comes from engineers who are trying to help the people in the boardrooms what AI is. So just to see it from CIO's lens, or the head of IT's lens here, right? So for us and for generally industry, and I'm sure for Anshul as well, AI, and Sulaiman, my friend, this is going to be very useful for you. AI broadly we classify into two branches. One is machine learning flavor of AI, and another one is deep learning flavor of AI. Now, machine learning flavor of AI is all about advanced algorithms, which are largely business rule based, but it will have thousands of parameters which will go into the engine and algorithm to produce the outcome. The only difference between machine learning algorithm based approach under AI versus deep learning is within deep learning, you are able to do reasoning. You may say to the algorithm that, hey, I don't like this answer, give me an alternate. That's deep learning. Machine learning, you can't do that because it is on set rules and set algorithms. Now, when we adopt AI, machine learning algorithms, we have been having in our industry, in banking industry for years, for ages, nothing new. Therefore, when we say that, hey, are we doing any work in AI? The answer is yes. We already have adopted machine learning for a number of years. Now the discussion is about the deep learning topic. This is where comes the Gen AI. This is where comes the natural language processing. This is where Anshul spoke about IDP, the intelligent document processing, RAG. All of that comes into that space. And our struggle as CIOs is that look at this space of Gen AI and NLP and figure out what do we do about this, because this is where your data is going in cloud, your ethics come into play, your security comes into play, and we are scratching our heads what to do in this space. Now, this is hopefully it helps Suleiman in terms of his thought process. Now, coming to the capability topic, Ram, you talked about the capability as well. Here, in my humble view, organization can take two-pronged approach. One is about one track, which can be always about building the strong foundation around AI. And by foundation, I mean the AI literacy and improve this literacy rate within the organization. And as we all know, literacy is about understanding AI, the use of AI, monitoring the outcome of value creation of AI. AI use across different applications, literacy. So this is one of the foundation block we can always focus on and strengthen this block. The second relevant to AI literacy is upskilling. And upskilling, I'm not talking about pure AI engineering upskilling. This is where we talk about, hey, do we know how to write a proper prompt to get the best out of Gen AI, as an example. So this is a second foundation block about upskilling and literacy. This is one track on which we focus. But in parallel to that, the last track which we can always focus on is to build the engineering stack internally with the help of partners like Nucleus is talking about, FinOne, New1, Neo, they are talking about platform, Copilot and Gemini and so many options available there. So again, the key message is multi-pronged approach towards creating resilient capabilities within our organization is what we should be looking at. Don't put one after the other. There are many, many smarter ways organizations can leapfrog and move forward.
Lovely. Very, very nice, Numan. I mean, I think it sets a lot of, I'm sure Suleiman is very happy with your very insightful picture on machine learning and deep learning. And not just him, I think many of us in the audience would gain from that perspective and where you can build in the reasoning. I'm actually going to go to Anshul. And Anshul, actually, I know you're from Delhi, and there is a fellow Delhiite, Gagandeep Madan, who actually has a very interesting question. And I'm going to pose this question to you, and I'm going to also ask you an aligned question. The question from me is, you worked with both first movers and fast followers, and what do you see as the most common pitfall in each strategy, right? But I'm going to just pepper it with what Gagandeep actually is having to ask you. His question is, you know what, Anshul, banks by default are conservative and risk averse. On the other hand, all our friends from the AI and fintech world, which I understand Gagandeep is from, is all transformational in nature, right? So how difficult or easy is it going to be to convince bank management, to convince them to adopt such tech? And how do they define the scope and limit for usage of such tech, which is going back to what Numan was mentioning, happens in boardroom. So this question is to you, Anshul. Go ahead.
I think, thank you. Thanks again for posting this question. And Ram, I think we all talked about the specific use cases. So I think once whether we being a technical partner or being a banker, I think the main point is which value or stream or problem statement you would like to solve. So I think if we know that problem statement, I think the AI is a tool. So if we know the problem, so my thought process and the way our engagement happens with the bankers, since I was ex-banker also. So the understanding of the real problem statement and the value which you are going to deliver, it can be delivered through any technologies, being AI. I think we were talking about AI hype also in between. So it can be done through a simple programming, which you can do it as a 3-year coding, and you can get the things done and the value can be achieved and the problem can be solved. It can be done through AI technology, which can be like I think the Numan used 2 words. It could be a machine learning or a deep learning. It could be a third dimension, which Farron was trying to add, where human AI alliance comes together. So you can have an AI which can prompt some responses to the human, and basis of some responses human can take up. So it is all depend on how you would like to approach the problem statement, how would like to get the conversation set with the bankers, understand their problems and try to give the solution. It could be either of the way. It could be a 3-year coding, it could be a AI, machine learning, deep learning, or it could be human plus AI alliances. Now, if you ask me in terms of the pitfall, so I think as the responses came for your the question, so I think I like the approach that people looking at the financial industry, either people will go for the fast followers or it depends on the use cases. Because if I'm a fast followers, there are challenges also because you need to invest a lot to set the brand because other people have been doing the same. So what are the differentiators you do have in your product, in your services, being a bank? Everybody is selling personal finance. So what is the differentiator you do have? You have a lots of competitions, and the most important, you have to invest a lot in terms of innovation, because if you don't invest on innovation, you will follow the crowd. So I think these are the some pitfalls if you get into the fast followers. And the similar way, if you get into the, let's take X percentage, they follow the first movers, but still the challenge is high upfront cost and uncertainty in the market. I think that's the biggest pitfall, you being a first movers, and especially in the financial industry. I think that's the position I would suggest, and maybe I hope I answered the Gagandeep queries.
No, I think that's a very interesting point. I think this human and AI alliance that Ferenc talked about and Anshul talked about. I know we actually have just 2 more minutes to go. I had something to ask, but before I did that, I'm going to go back to you, Ferenc, with a very interesting question from another friend of ours from Abu Dhabi. This time it's Hadi Inan. And Hadi is actually having a very interesting question. He says, how are we looking at AI? I mean, are we looking at AI to support the human power to serve more customers, get more business, run things more accurately? Or are we actually looking to replace human effort and rely on some bots that could do the job? You know, is this to enhance human capital, or is it to replace humans? I think this is like, I think the million or the $1 billion question that's being asked around the world. And here is the same question to you, Ferenc. Your answer.
I think we have one more question from Danny Guerra. They're pretty much the same. Just I think we know each other. See, Danny. I think these concerns are existing. However, in my view, Skynet is not here, so robots will not take over the jobs. Though I think that's very important, and that's what recently we're discussing a lot with friends, even in the workplace. I think the lower added value jobs, they are in danger, because these are the repetitive tasks which can easily automatized, and these bots, the AI can take over most of these. Actually, the current experience both here in this region, one of the big enterprise, not in the banking sector, we had some discussion, and back in my home country, in my previous workplace, is what we did was that not replacing the humans. We increased the added value of the humans. We increased the speed of the execution. We increased the capacity of the same size of the team to execute more tasks, increase the value of those tasks because the repetitive low-level activities, comparing numbers with numbers, checking eligibilities, checking all the papers are arrived, etc. All of these things, it can be easily automatized with the things. Again, as I mentioned previously, decision still requires human work in this. We have recently some discussions in my home country about that. Do we need later on, for example, philosophists and in the higher education? And there are discussions about how the philosophy, because what are they really doing? They have the critical thinking. The critical thinking in the AI, I think that's something which is quite important. If you consider that you receive an answer from ChatGPT, most probably you will consider it as a fact. However, if ChatGPT is fed with false information for bad purposes, a lot of things can go wrong. So we need to make the systems on this way. Also, there are a lot of discussions about how the AI will replace the work of the programmers, because it's very easy now. You can make the prompt, and the prompt creates you the codes, and the codes immediately can be put into production. Would I put into production something which made by ChatGPT without a proper review by humans? Maybe these reviews, maybe I can increase the quality of the human testing and the end testing by using the same capacity which currently I'm using for low-level coding instead of doing this. So I think this is the future. I don't believe that that we can rely on the automation on that way. This is really nice. The Tesla auto drive option, that's really nice. It works really nicely. Would I take my kids and send them to the school with autopilot? Certainly not. I need someone who sits at the driver's seat and can do the necessary.
Got it. No, lovely, Ferenc. And I'm afraid we are running really out of time, so I'll have to, draw the curtains on this panel. But I think what I'm hearing you say loud and clear is, relying only on artificial intelligence will result in natural stupidity. You will have to obviously complement a human with AI and enhance the value. And the idea is to actually be moving up the value chain, as we consultants like to keep calling out. Ultimately, I had to give my consulting punch there. Really appreciate Numan and Ferenc and Anshul. I think it's been a fantastic conversation. I'm afraid we couldn't answer a few other questions out there in the chat box, but hopefully you got the larger drift of what our fellow panelists had to say. Thank you once again, Nikhil, for organizing this event, and Nucleus for actually partnering with IBS Intelligence to providing this platform for this event. Have a wonderful day, and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Everyone, thank you.